What's going on, everyone? I'm Jaren, and today we are talking about oddity. In this story, we follow a psychic medium who attempts to uncover the truth of her sister's death at the site of the crime. I've heard nothing short of spectacular reviews from the festival screening, and I was really eager to watch this one because a lot of people were claiming it as the scariest movie of the year. Normally, I would have my doubts, and usually I don't tend to believe a lot of the bold statements said by the one critic who hasn't necessarily watched a lot of horror movies as to the audience it's catering to. Now, I was pretty bummed because normally a lot of movies that kind of go straight to Shudder don't necessarily get theatrical runs here on Maui, especially anything distributed by IFC. So the only way we were going to see it is if we were to have a Shudder subscription, wait for physical media, or quite possibly wait for our Screeners Guild to send us a link. And I might as well just bite the bullet and get the streaming service already. Alas, I got my Blu-ray copy in the mail at the tail end of October. I popped in that disc, got comfy. I was home alone, so I was able to dim the lights, turn the volume up, and I gotta say, it is one thing to go into an empty auditorium and watch Smile 2. As far as oddity goes, this was one of those rare times that I was completely terrified watching a movie in the comfort of my own home. Damien McCarthy, the filmmaker behind Caveat, brings us to the conflicting front line of belief and disbelief when it comes to the supernatural, where no sin goes unturned or unpunished. And these are one of the very few elements that really drew me into the story, and it could have gone one of two ways. One, it could have had the protagonist using her abilities to go on a killing spree for revenge, or two, we have our protagonist using her abilities to uncover a truth much darker than she anticipated. This is set in the countryside of Bantry, Ireland, and I truly admired the production designer for transforming an exhibition center into an actual home. The structure of the house feels like an actual fortress, but we only really spend time in like the one section of the property. It's unconventional for the typical function, but the way they were able to frame and light a lot of the living space, the bedrooms, or even the second floor skywalk was very masterful and distinctive in its own way. Especially during the evening scenes, there's a lot of shadows opposed to light, and that really plays up the creep factor and how your eyes are attempting to catch things in the corner. I know it would have been more impacting had I seen this in theaters, but there were some unsettling and heart-stopping images in this movie, followed by some effectively executed jump scares that may seem very simple, but they were really relentless. I mean, I couldn't get the faces of the assailant's mask or the wooden men out of my head before I went to bed. The pacing and focusing on the story before we got the scares works marvelously here. I was truly invested in the story, and some people might call this a slow burn, but to be honest, I thought it was a great tactic to catch the viewers off guard. Getting into some of the talent here, Gwillem Lee plays Ted, the widower/doctor, who is in disbelief of the supernatural. He may come off as rationally disbelief, but he is patient and compassionate to some extent. I do think that his personality, his dynamic and demeanor is very 180 when it comes to his new girlfriend and his late wife's twin sister. But does that gain the viewers' sympathy or despise? We also got Caroline Menton, who plays Yana, aka Ted's girlfriend, and Yana likes to butt head with everybody when she doesn't have anything going her way. Nearly every interactive response she has with Darcy is very spiteful. She's the girl you want to hate, but she's not completely clueless. Especially later on in the movie, she becomes a little more curious. She becomes the rational brain to the audience, where she's starting to do certain things and ask a lot of the hard-hitting questions before things begin to get weird. And then we have Caroline Bracken, who is the true star of this movie. And at first I had no idea that they casted the same actress to play both sisters, Danny and Darcy. It really tricked me up until I saw the credits, but they're significant in their own way. When it comes to Darcy, she is a blind medium who is able to connect with cursed objects. A lot of her visions are very nightmare-inducing, and a lot of her determination to uncover her sister's death is very poignant and wicked all in one swoop. Last but not least, the Wooden Man. This conduit is inspired by Jewish folklore, the golem, which was originally a clay figure that could be brought to life by rituals and do the creator's bidding. Now, This thing just stays propped up on a seat throughout most of the movie, and I was at the edge of my seat because there was a lot of heightened moments where I thought this thing was going to leap out and attack. At one point, I found myself screaming at the TV because the character Yana was just meandering her hand around the mouth of the statue. And I just thought the way that they racked up a lot of tension, with the surrounding characters, and for the viewers, with the way that they included the wooden man in almost each and every frame, in almost like very much surrounding shots of where there's just nothing going on. And I just thought, well, that was an ingenious way to utilize your plot device. Overall, this was a horror gem that I did not expect to tickle my brain and tap into the fear of the dark much deeper than it did Longlegs for me. And my smallest gripe about the movie was that, apart from the scares, the story was heading in a direction that I was already predicting from the beginning. I do agree with my best friend slash fellow critic Nohea Brown that it should have been left open-ended. I would have loved to see what they could have done with a sequel, especially with Darcy's Shop of Oddities and all its cursed objects, and, even the story of that one bellman. I would have loved to see where they could have taken this, and they could have even spawned a franchise if they wanted to. There's just so much rich history and a lot of items to really dive into and unveil. Well, all right, guys, that's all I got to share about that movie. Go ahead and check it out. I'm pretty sure it's streaming on AMC Plus, Shudder. It's on DVD and Blu-ray, and you could also rent and buy it on digital. Thank you guys again for taking some time out of your day to hear me talk some movies. I'm Jaren Banawag. Look forward to more reviews, and I'll see you guys at the theater. Take care.